think this is a good opportunity for us to find the speaker, male or female, and there are several, that would lead the conference in a direction that the conference wants to go.
Congressman Ted Poe, just a few minutes ago on this program, evoking memories of British Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli, who famously said, "I must follow the people. After all, am I not their leader?" So what will happen in the sweepstakes for the House speakership? Well, to talk about it, we've got our Washington insider here on the anchor desk, former Chief of Staff to Congressman Walter B. Jones of North Carolina, Glen Downs. Glenn, it's good to have you back here on Newsmax Prime.
Great to be here, J.D.
2 weeks ago, you were the guy who had the story. Kevin McCarthy, Gainesville, when it came to his pursuit of the speakership. And since then, there's been a lot of talk. For example, last week, I think largely a media creation, Paul Ryan was supposed to be the guy. He stepped back from it. But is there any chance that Ryan might reconsider and try to become the next speaker?
J.D., I had a number of conversations today with people on Capitol Hill and on K Street, and to the extent that that was a possibility, it seems like it's a diminishing one. The largely, as you indicated, media-created phenomenon around the Ryan candidacy for speaker was really part of an attempt by Mr. Boehner to anoint his successor. And you start seeing with these members of Congress being in their home districts, they're hearing more and more that people want something different from their leadership, and thus I think what you heard from Ted Poe earlier was indicative of probably what members out there are hearing. And they need to have a speaker that listens to them rather than that tries to direct them where that speaker wants to take them.
And that has been the message of former Florida House Speaker Dan Webster. When he announced his candidacy and came on this program, he said, look, we have to have a member-driven process. Apart from ideology, is the Webster argument making some headway?
Absolutely. It really seems to be making ground. It's made a lot of ground, obviously, with conservatives who felt like that their amendments and their processes and their procedures were being boxed out by the existing leadership. But interestingly, it seems to have made a lot of ground amongst people who are more ideologically moderate, in that they, like committee chairmen in many instances, who nominally are in charge of various issue areas, find that their bills don't ever make it to the floor. When they do make it to the floor, they're changed in the direction that leadership wants them. So the idea that they would be more greatly empowered by, say, a Daniel Webster or someone that's got that same program is very attractive and increasingly attractive to them.
Now, I understand current leadership, this notion of opening up the process has not fallen on deaf ears. What's happening?
Well, obviously, the 218, without making some changes, has been very difficult, and that's why we're having this lull in getting a new speaker. But today, the chairman of the House Republican Conference, Kathy McMorris Rogers of the state of Washington, has sent out a memo indicating before we got around to trying to elect a new speaker or a Republican nominee for speaker, we needed to first have some changes in the rules that conform to what members like Ted Poe were talking about.
So this a move by leadership, again in terms of process, to set up a détente among conservatives and more establishment-minded Republicans. You know, Glenn, before we go, we have about a minute left. Jason Chaffetz got in the running for this thing. We're hearing talk about Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee. In your mind right now, is this still wide open?
I think it's very much wide open. And what happened was, I think, with this attempt to thrust Paul Ryan to the forefront, ended up really just delaying the process that's now just coming forward. People like Congressman Darrell Issa from California and others who are really seriously exploring the race. And I think we're going to see a lot more, as he indicated, in this next week. Now,
you mentioned an additional name, Darrell Issa of California. You think he's serious about this?
I do think he's serious about it, and I have well-placed sources that indicate that he's working very hard on this right now. He's not said, yes, I'm absolutely going to do it, but he's walking that direction.
All right, we shall see. You haven't steered us wrong yet. Washington insider Glen Downs on our anchor desk. Thanks again for your time here on Newsmax Prime.
Great to be here.
Great. So, you heard what Glenn had to say. What do you think about the race for the speakership? Send us your comments at newsmaxtv.com/comments. When we come back, Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio both vying for president. This Florida fight, our focus.